Welcome to this presentation. My name is Roberto Moncada, and my colleagues and co-authors of this work are Enrico Ferro, Alfredo Favenza, and Pierluigi Pereni. The work title is Next Generation Blockchain-Based Financial Service within the Third International Workshop on Future Perspective of Decentralized Applications. The first perspective we analyzed is the difference between CeFi and DeFi in the financial services provision and their consistency in this provision. In the first place, we can see the traditional financial system that works through the close interaction of governments, central banks, private banks, stock exchanges, and so forth, and that form the decentralized finance, also called CeFi. The traditional financial system is a centralized system since the institutions that form this ecosystem just have the monopoly of the ledger of the data of the users within this ecosystem, with respect to the decentralized system in which the decentralized application, also called dApps, built on blockchain infrastructures that compose the decentralized finance, also called DeFi, is characterized by a distribution nature of the ecosystem in which the ledger is also available by all the users of the ecosystem that in fact have access to an exact copy of the ledger of each blockchain and each platform. DeFi is a decentralized financial system composed of dApps developed upon permissionless or public permissioned blockchains that grant access to financial services through the execution of smart contracts, provided that an internet connection is available. The first solution to CeFi critical issues that DeFi offer is the transparency. Indeed, all users have access to transaction data stored on the blockchains while still maintaining privacy, at least for public blockchains. The second one refers to the autonomy. Indeed, no trusted parties are needed. In fact, DeFi is based on non-custodial management of assets, since users have the direct control of their wealth within the different dApps. Thirdly, DeFi allows financial inclusion, since it can foster financial inclusion providing the possibility to have access at least to essential financial services like transaction account and savings deposit. The fourth critical solution is the tradability. Indeed, no requirements to commit to an entire high-value investment at once is needed. In most cases, in fact, transactions on blockchains can involve portions of assets. The blockchain technology, in particular the aspects of this technology that are innovative and disruptive for the DeFi ecosystem, are essentially three. The first one is the ledger distributed nature, and in particular the blockchain eliminates intermediaries by spreading control over the network and among users. Secondly, we have the consensus protocol that defines the rules that legitimize the entry of new transactions into the ledger, and the cryptographic algorithm that design as the methods to validate new data entries, maintaining security. Together, consensus protocol and cryptographic algorithm allows to determine many essential aspects of the blockchain infrastructure, in particular the degree of efficiency of the platform, the power consumption of the platform, and the digital scarcity. The last one, specifically, determine the solution for the double spending problem. Indeed, instead of the situation of the internet condition in which information is abundant and can be replicated at will, since the cost of replication is very low, in the case of assets within the blockchain context, it is not possible to recreate, so to double the assets at will, but the consensus protocol together with the cryptographic algorithm create digital scarcity. For the DeFi ecosystem to exist, it is necessary a circulating medium of exchange that we generally call currency in the traditional system, while in the context of DeFi we call cryptocurrency. If on the one hand, in the case of the fiat money, the money is under the monopolistic control of central banks, cryptocurrencies represent a form of unregulated and programmable digital money that is consensually accepted by the community members of the blockchain. New transactions, then, are performed through the implementation of a consensus algorithm, and so the two main aspects upon which the DeFi bases its functioning are the community and the algorithm. DeFi also falls within the paradigmatic shift from economics to tokenomics. If on the one hand we have economics, which innovation proceeds by introducing a change in the context of set rules and by observing how such a relatively rigid framework reacts to the change, in the context of tokenomics, innovation is put forward by designing the rules governing the playground in a way that the stakeholders' behavior aligns with the goal pursued. So, in the first case, in the case of economics, we have an innovation based on a predictive basis. In the case of tokenomics, innovation carries on a design basis. The shift from the passive observation of the ecosystem reaction to a change to the active design of the ecosystem consistent laws aims at reaching the desired outcome. So DeFi falls within tokenomics by definition, since the rules on the basis of each dApps of each platform are designed before the application of the financial services in order to pursue the goal defined before. We defined an analysis based on 8 blockchain infrastructures of the DeFi ecosystem. The choice of the 8 blockchain infrastructures aim to present the technical scenarios within which the DeFi ecosystem has proliferated in the last years. The selection criteria of the blockchains are essentially 3. The first one is the market capitalization, so the level of capitalization of the blockchain's native cryptocurrencies. The second one is the nature of the platform, and in particular the permissionless and public permissioned nature of platforms. And thirdly, the predisposition of these platforms towards financially innovative objectives. This first table shows the 8 blockchains selected, and in particular Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tron, Stellar, EOS, Tezos, NEO, and Cardano, with respect to 9 main variables that, as I told before, present the technical scenarios of these 8 blockchains in order to understand the technical characteristics of these platforms. First of all, we have the accessibility. So the permissionless and public permissioned blockchain, in fact, you can observe that the 8 blockchains are or permissionless or public permissioned. Only Cardano is an exception because it presents both a permissionless and a permissioned governance layer within its infrastructure. The consensus mechanisms is the second variable, and we can observe different mechanisms like proof of work, proof of stake, delegated proof of stakes, and other specific and special consensus mechanisms that derive generally from proof of stake or delegated proof of stake, like for example the liquidity proof of stake of Tezos. Then we have the cryptocurrency issuing method, and in general it differentiates between mining and pre-mined activities. Cryptocurrency symbol, the cryptocurrency total supply, the blockchain uses that defines the main activities carried out within the 8 blockchains, the target audience that does not preclude the participation of other players, like for example the public sector, so institutions, other than individuals and businesses, the market capitalization of the native cryptocurrency of the different platforms, and the creation year of the infrastructures. The DeFi ecosystem is based, DeFi ecosystem that we analyzed and we structured in this paper is based on the 8 blockchains presented in the previous slide and on a financial services categorization based on 5 categories of financial services. The first category is the borrowing and lending category, where users have access to peer-to-peer lending platforms, where borrowers can obtain funds over collateralizing a loan by blocking their digital assets. The exchanges category, in which users can exchange tokens not only for utility reasons but also to take advantage of rising and decreasing prices. We have also deposit and asset management category, in which users can access non-custodial dApps to manage funds and digital assets, monitoring their investment directly, so having access to non-custodial realities in which there is no need for third-party interventions or intermediation. The derivatives category, in which users can invest in synthetic tokens whose value is anchored to the underlying asset price through the apps that allow tokenizing every kind of asset, that can be also asset that operates online or offline, and the stablecoin issuance category, where users can exploit the issuance of tokens characterized by minimal fluctuation rates that are generally fiat-backed or crypto-backed. And so we are here in the DeFi ecosystem analysis that we structured in order to map the ecosystem of the financial services provision within the decentralized finance. So we can observe an ecosystem that goes across the 8 blockchains analyzed and the 5 financial services categories presented before. We can observe that other than the Ethereum blockchain, that is the first mover in this in this context, in this field, there are also other players within the DeFi environment that are expanding their network, not only in terms of the number of dApps, but also in terms of financial services, like for example EOS and Tezos. And we can observe that the environment is very rich, also in terms of services offered. Indeed, we can also distinguish between different dApps and different services, even if most of these dApps offer more than one financial services. In fact, even if you can observe these dApps within a specific financial service category, it is possible, and it often happens, that they also operate in other contexts and offer other type of financial services. The considerations and the lessons learned that comes from the DeFi ecosystem analysis presented in the table of the previous slide are mainly 3. The first one deals with the Bitcoin blockchain, that among the platforms analyzed is the only one that does not allow the execution of smart contracts and the deployment of dApps. However, given the Bitcoin's impact in terms of network effects, which caused its considerable appreciation since 2012, it represents one of the DeFi ecosystem cornerstone. Besides, the results show a path dependency linked to the first mover advantage of the Ethereum blockchain. Indeed, Ethereum has generated strong network effects, as in the case of the Bitcoin blockchain, being the first blockchain to implement smart contracts and develop dApps. However, despite the relative inefficiencies compared to other platforms, the positive feedback loops generated by the increasing dimension of the environment in terms of the number of dApps and the financial services offered, Ethereum has attracted more attention by users and developers. But more recent infrastructures, like also EOS and Tezos blockchains, have started to expand their network in terms of dApps and financial services offered, deriving two main effects from the emergence of other blockchains within the DeFi environment. So the expansion of this environment can bring to two main consequences. The first one is the attraction of users of other platforms, so within the DeFi environment, but also the contraction of the CeFi network for the advantage of the DeFi environment. In this slide, we can observe the DeFi map that comes from the DeFi ecosystem analysis. In fact, we can observe the expansion of the DeFi ecosystem across the 8 blockchain and the 5 financial services ecosystem. And so whenever we can observe a box that is colored with a specific degree of gray, we know that there will exist at least one dApp that offer that specific financial service in that specific platform. And so it summarized the information collected during the analysis, presenting also the actual DeFi ecosystem since the first execution of smart contracts in 2014. So the conclusions of this work made in this paper are essentially three also in this case, and the first one deals with the blockchain technology application in the financial sector has brought to the creation of dApps ecosystem able to reproduce standard financial services and also to go a step further, proposing innovative solutions for this industry's evolution. The result presented during this in this paper describe a rapidly changing ecosystem actually driven by the Ethereum blockchain in terms of the dimension of its environment, but followed also by prominent projects with broad potential in terms of efficiency and also ecosystem prosperity. This exploratory study in particular represents an initial step within the research field that treats the transition from centralized to decentralized system. And further analysis also will focus on a multiple perspective study with the aim to define which degree of complementarity between centralization and decentralization can maximize their respective strengths and minimize the weaknesses. So, subsequent work will enhance comprehension about the future perspective of DeFi, also delineating the profile of potential future successful actors in the next generation financial industry. This work and this research activity is part of an extensive and ongoing effort to understand and map the innovation potential of distributed ledger technologies carried out by Over the Block, that is a permanent observatory on blockchain technology powered by Links Foundation. So thank you for your attention, and so if you have any question, I will be glad to answer.